18 starts with two angles are supplementary, which we know means what? Add to 180. Okay, supplementary, you'll want to know that for the quiz. Two angles supplementary, they add to 180. One angle measures 12 more than the other. Find the measure of the two angles. So you might be able to get this one by guessing and checking, right? If you just start with 90 and 90, those are equal, those add to 180. If you just start increasing one and decreasing the other, right, to get it where there's a difference of 12 but they add to 180, you could probably get it by guessing and checking. But if we were going to solve it algebraically, let's call the two angles x and y. So we know, since they're supplementary, if you take x plus y, that equals 180. Right? They're supplementary, that's what supplementary means. Okay. The other part of the problem says one angle is 12 more than the other. So if I add 12 to x, it equals y. I could have did it the other way around. I could have said y plus 12 equals x, because it doesn't matter which one's which. Just one of them is 12 more than the other, right? So now I have two equations, and I have two variables. So when you have two variables in an equation, you have to have two equations in order to solve. So I need to make an equation with just one variable, that way I can solve it. So since I have a y by itself here, I'm going to substitute for y in this equation. And in place of this y, I'm going to put what it's equal to down below. That way I have an equation with just one variable. So I'm going to rewrite this equation, but substitute for y with x plus 12. So it'll be x plus 12 equals 180. 1x plus 1x is 2x. Subtract 12 from both sides. 2x equals 168. Divide both sides by 2. And one of the angles is 84. Okay. That's what it would look like algebraically. You may have been able to get that by guessing and checking too, though. Then to find the other angle, you can just plug in x in either one of these equations. Right? If I plug in x here and add 12 to it, that's going to be the other angle. So the other angle would be 96. Doesn't matter which one's y, which one's x. It just asks for the two angles. Okay. That's 18. Questions on that one? 84 and 96. They add to 180, and one of them is 12 more than the other. I got 4 left here. 19. The measure of angle 1 is 5 less than 4 times the measure of angle 2. If 1 and 2 form a linear pair, what are their measures? Okay, so let's take it one step at a time. Let's call, instead of calling them angle 1 and angle 2, because that could get confusing with the numbers, let's call them letters. Let's call angle 1 x, and let's call angle 2 y. Just because I'd rather use a variable than the number 1, because I may confuse the number 1 with an actual number instead of a variable, right? So first part says the measure of angle 1 is. So whenever we see the word is, what do we write in place of that? Equals, right? So angle 1 is 5 less than. So how am I going to do 5 less than? Minus 5. So I'm going to tack that on at the end here, because it's going to be 5 less than 4 times the measure of angle 2. 4 times the measure of angle 2, right? So there's first equation, x equals 4y minus 5. Then it says angle 1 and 2 form a linear pair. This will be important for the quiz to know what this means. Remember, a linear pair, we're going to review this here in a minute too, but a linear pair always add up to what? Remember that? Linear pair, that's complementary. Linear pair always add up to 180. They're supplementary. Okay? So my other equation, since it says they're a linear pair, because remember, a linear pair makes up a straight line, and a straight line's 180 degrees. It's half of a circle. So x plus y equals 180. That's my other equation. So this is going to be exactly like the previous problem. I have two equations. I have two variables. Since I have x by itself here, let's go ahead and substitute x with this, what it's equal to. That way I have an equation with just one variable, right? So I'll get 4y minus 5 plus y equals 180. I substituted this x with what it's equal to up here. That way I have an equation with just one variable. Combine my like terms, add 5 to the other side, divide both sides by 5. I get 37. That's one angle. It says what are both angles? Well, you know together they have to add up to 180, right? That one's 37. So x has to be 143. That was angle 1, that was angle 2, because together I said they have to add up to 180. 20 says angle CFD, so CFD, there's that angle right there, is 12A plus 45. So I'm going to put 12A plus 45 in there. It says find A so that FC, ray FC, then it gives me this symbol to FD. Anybody remember what this symbol means? Symbol means. This upside down T means perpendicular, and perpendicular means two lines make right angles. Okay? So it says that FC and FD make a right angle. They're perpendicular. That's what this symbol means. So that means this angle right here, I'm going to put that little box in the corner because that's a right angle. And it wants me to find A. So I know this angle is equal to how many degrees? 90, because that's a right angle. So that's what I'm going to do there. I'll let you finish that one. But I know that angle is going to be equal to 90. You're going to get a fraction there. That's okay. Trick to that one is knowing what this symbol means. It means perpendicular. Okay. 21 says AFB. So AFB, this angle right here, is 8x minus 6. And BFC, this angle right here, is 14x plus 8. Find the value of x so that AFC is a right angle. That's AFC, right? Now, so I have this little angle and I have this little angle. It doesn't tell me this was a bisector. It didn't tell me this cut in half, but I know together this angle plus this angle should equal how many degrees? 90, because they both make up a 90-degree angle, right? So I'm not going to set these two equal to each other, but I know if I add those two together, they make a 90-degree angle, because that's what this box in the corner means, right? So if I take 8x minus 6 and add that to 14x plus 8, that's going to equal 90 degrees. Combine your like terms, solve for x. I'll let you finish that one. We're just solving for x there. 22 says BFA is 3r minus 12. BFA, or 3r plus 12. And DFE, this angle right here, is negative 8r plus 210. And it wants you to find AFE. So it wants to find this angle. A little bit tougher here. Okay. Gives me what this angle is with the variable. Gives me what this angle is with the variable. And it wants to know this blue angle, AFE. Okay. So it's going to be helpful first if I can find out what R is to find out what both of these angles are. Okay. Well, notice here I have two straight lines. Okay. And then I have the angles opposite those straight lines. What do we call those angles that are opposite two straight lines? Remember what that is? The angles opposite each other of two straight lines? Vertical angles. Those are vertical angles. Okay? And whenever we have a pair of vertical angles, there's something that's always true. What is it? What? Yep, they're the same. Vertical angles are always the same. The angles opposite each other of two intersecting lines are always the same. So this angle is the exact same as this angle. If this was 50, this is 50. If this is 100, this is 100. This is 3r plus 12. That's going to be equal to negative 8r plus 20. They're vertical, opposite two intersecting lines. So I can solve for r that way by saying that 3r plus 12 is equal to negative 8r plus 210. So I'm going to solve that for r. I'm going to add 8r to both sides. That'll give me 11r over here. I'm going to subtract 12 over to the other side, 198. When I divide both sides by 11, so I have what r is equal to, so I could find out what both of these angles are, what they equal to by plugging in r. Right? If I plug in r here, that's going to be 3 times 18. I'll replace this with 54 degrees. Once I add 12, this angle is now 66 degrees, which I know if I plugged in r over here, this angle would be 66 degrees. So that got me a long way, but again, the final question asked, what is this blue angle? What is AFE? Okay. What is AFE? And I know those two angles now are 66. They're vertical angles. Okay. Well, notice, you can look at it a couple different ways, but if I look at this red line, okay, these two angles make up that straight line, right? This angle and this angle make up that straight line. And a straight line is how many degrees? 180. These two form a linear pair. They're adjacent angles, and they're non-common sides of straight line. So together, these two have to add up to 180, because they make up a straight line. So since this is 116, this one has to be 114. And that would be what AFE is.